Um, Perfect. So it's really, really, really amazing of you all to be here. And I really, really thank all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause for taking the time on a very, I'm sure, lovely Monday to be here with us today. If I have not met you yet in person or virtually, my name is Katie. I am the manager of training here at Matrix. I've been here for about 7 months now. I checked, I think it's 7.5, so we're working on it. And I have taught and facilitated thousands of classes in my lifetime. I've been teaching for the better part of a decade, and I've done a lot of virtual facilitation from, you name it, big, huge webinars with Ulta and Salon Centric and Beauty Gurus to small, intimate settings with just smaller salons. And I've kind of taken little bits and pieces of everything I've learned, and we're sharing it all today. How does that sound? All right, so while I get my PowerPoint up and running, I would love for you to go to that chat feature again, use it like your little diary, okay? And tell me what you want to get out of today. When you heard that we were doing a Zoom training, what was it that you were like, oh, if I could leave with this today, I would be set. Go into that chat and tell me what it is. She's coming up here. She's just thinking, taking her time. Can everybody see? We good? Awesome. Okay. So I'm just looking, I have two devices running, so I promise if I'm looking away from you, I'm just looking at our chat so I can see how to manage the chat while I'm in screen sharing mode. Look at that. Just answered what I'm doing. I've got two screens going on here. How to share PowerPoints, how to use Zoom better, all the Zoom platform ins and outs, how to navigate the app. Annette says no black boxes. I'm still trying to figure out how that happened, Annette. Annette had a technical issue that I still have not been able to quite figure out. Seamless transitions, all of it. I really enjoy teaching online. I'm excited because I can reach more people. Thank you for that, Kayla. I agree. I would love confidence in Zoom from a facilitation standpoint. Thank you, Bethany. Just using Zoom in general, especially dealing with glares. And that is a consistent issue. And I'll give you some of my favorite hacks for that too. It's never a seamless, perfect process, but we can make it easier. What are the best electronics for digital facilitation? I've got a big surprise for you in that front. So I'm excited that you want that. I would love to see how see both the PowerPoint and facilitator while teaching and watching the replay. I could open the agenda, but I'm here. I love that, Carlos. Well, if you all can see my screen, go into that chat again and said I can see it because I would love. I can see. Awesome. I would love to best to look pasty. I just am pasty, my friends. Okay. So I'm very, very excited about this. And the reason being, facilitation in the digital space is such a large, big thing. Okay. How many of you have ever felt like, and you can be honest, it's okay, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, that you were like, ugh, virtual programs, I don't want to teach virtually, I don't want to teach digitally, it's boring, I don't want to do it, right? Has anybody ever felt that way before? Maybe you just woke up that way one day? Because I know I have been there. It has been that way for me before because it is hard. The truth is, virtual and digital facilitation is really difficult. Would you guys agree with me? For those of you that have taught virtually, Omar says yes. Kayla, yes, all caps. Setting up a tiny space. I know, Tiffany, your small space in your studio. And then we've got some hacks. Bethany says, yes, it scares me. It's intimidating, right? It's really intimidating. So this PowerPoint that I'm sharing with you today is actually going to serve as a dual purpose. It's also going to live as our digital handbook, kind of like that big player's handbook that you can refer to at any time. If you need to dust off your Zoom skills because it's been a year since you taught and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't remember how to share my format. I can't remember how to share audio. I can't remember. It's going to live in the digital folder in your PPT library. So you can pull this PowerPoint up at any time and rehash the details, okay? So let's jump right in. This is how we facilitate digitally. And these are some of the things we're going to talk about. How does virtual facilitation differ from in-person? Is it the same? What do you think? And this is opinion, it's not fact. Just tell me how you feel. You yourself, the artist and facilitator, feels. Do you feel like virtual facilitation is the same as in person, or is it a little different? Carlos, no, all caps. It's hard to get interaction. It's different. No, it's harder. It's a bit different when I can't see faces. Yes, and Tiffany's done a lot of salon-centric virtual classes, which are actually in webinar format most of the time, I believe. And you can't really, they don't have camera, which is another obstacle to jump over. More to manage, harder for connection and energy. I love that you said the word energy because it's so important. And demoing virtually. Do you find it's the same? It's easier? It's harder? What are your thoughts? Because I know for me, trying to master framing in the digital space was a whole obstacle within itself. Can be very, very difficult. Body positioning is a challenge for sure. And we have that other aspect of how do we celebrate all learners in that virtual space. We want to make sure that those auditory, kinesthetic, and all of our learners are really dialed in. So how do we involve everybody in that virtual space? We have to get a little creative. And finally, is the environment tailored to keep the environment learner focused? Who can guess what I mean when I'm asking that question? What does an environment focused for learning look like to you? And it could be different for all of us, right? We're all different learners. Clean. Brittany says clean. I'm one to say the same. No distractions. Focused, right? Clean and uncluttered. Love that. So this is how we facilitate virtually. And I'm going back, I believe it was Justin that said energy. Number one, big. I wanted to put this in all caps because it's so important. Be big. You know how back in the day they said, if you're going to be on camera, it adds 20 pounds? I think when you facilitate virtually, it's like you lose 20% of the energy through the process of the screen because it's so hard to connect in that way through the screen. So being big with huge energy, making sure to keep your shoulders wide, really tall body, right? Really tall body posture, making sure that those arms are open. You don't want to shrink because if I sit here and I get comfortable, and I'm just like, hey guys, are you excited today? Are you gonna be super pumped to stay and learn? Or are you gonna be like, oh, we're in for a Bueller run? Right. Second of all is using your vocal register. So in that chat feature again, go in there and tell me if you're the type of facilitator that gets coaching saying you talk too much or too fast, or are you the facilitator that sometimes you go monotone and go low? Go in that chat feature and tell me which you think you're more likely to be in. Talkative chatter or smaller, slower energy? Talk too much, too fast, monotone, low. I talk too much because I get excited. Talk too much and go monotone, fast, talkative. Yeah, we're all over the place. And I'll be very transparent with you. My biggest struggle as a facilitator has been my chattiness, has always been that way. And I really try to work on it. And we all have things that we work on. And my biggest passion is using that vocal register, whether that's in person or virtual, but it is so unbelievably critically important in the virtual space, simply because we need to up that energy. Upping that energy is so important to keep people engaged. Also, we know that every adult learner can check out for up to half of every minute. When we use our voice as a tool, that means if I change my pitch, if I go higher or lower, I'm cluing the learner in to say, oh, wait, something changed. So even if they went to Tahiti on their mental vacation, they're clued in to say, okay, I'm coming back. A good tip for this, if you are someone who is really trying to work on using your voice as a tool, I will give you the piece of advice that my mentor gave me, which was either go to the library, go to Barnes and Noble, and pick up a couple children's books. Okay. You're going to pick up a couple children's books and you're going to read them aloud using different emotions and different inflections. So maybe you want to read it in a sad way or a happy way or a big way and a small way. It's really going to help you create a really strong vocal register that is going to keep learners engaged. Okay. I know you might feel silly, but sometimes, trust me, feeling silly is worth it in the end. Okay. Number 3, be clear, concise, and organized. I don't know about you, but I know about me. And I know that I want to give everybody everything that I have in my brain to give. Does anybody else ever feel that way? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to give everyone everything. Yes. Promise, Kayla, Crystal, yes. Of course. So I want you to think of virtual facilitation like a box. And I know we're like, oh, Katie, I don't want to think in a box. Stay with me. Imagine the corners and outside of that box. Actually, make it with your hands. Make a square with your fingers. You can even do it the old school way. I don't care. Make a square with your fingers. Okay. That is the box that we can keep information in for our virtual learners. If we stuff too much in that box, okay, what's going to happen? If we overstuff our box with information, what's going to happen? It's going to break, the box explodes, it overloads, and they won't retain. Overflow, you run out of space. So we know in the virtual landscape that the attention span is smaller, retention is lower, and people are less likely to remember long term. So it's really important. And trust me, I know you all are so knowledgeable and you're so good at what you do and you want to give everybody everything. But just know that sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is more. And in the virtual space, really stay focused as to what the topic of that program is. Before you start going off on tangents and runaways, what is the point of the program? And what is the intention you have for the learner? Very, very important. And finally, be alert. Be alert. Keep your eyeballs on the chat, on the formats, on the screens. I have 2 screens running right now. That's something I feel really comfortable with. Some people like to go with 3. I really like to have my chat open and visible to me so I can engage with you this way. I use the chat like we were in an in-person class, right? I'm engaging with you because I'm looking. I can see, and it keeps you involved. Any questions on how we facilitate virtually before we move on? Did anybody learn anything? I've taken classes with the facilitator standing, or is it better to sit? What do you think? So I'm sitting right now. I'm sitting right now, and I'm going to be honest with you. It's because we're a community together. If I were presenting for and also I'm going to be extra honest with you, my grubby toddler gave me pneumonia, so standing for long periods ain't my friend right now. That's the other reason. But if I'm facilitating a program, I prefer to stand. And that's just because it allows my body to move more. It allows me to be bigger. When I'm in my little desk chair, I can only go so far. Okay. So I usually do like to stand and I would recommend it, but there are times and places that sitting is appropriate. I also agree with that, but that's a really great question. Karina says standing, so I agree. Less is more. Okay. Good, good, good. So demoing virtually. Demoing virtually is a whole ball game within itself. Whole ball game within itself. It is a challenge because we have body parts that get in the way of the camera. Yes? And it really stinks when you're demoing and you look at your camera and you realize you've been in the zone and they haven't been able to see a thing. And you're like, oh no. So prepare ahead of time. Don't just jump in. If any theme can emerge from this training, it's preparation. It's all in preparation. It's so important. I want you to set your tripod up, okay, and see with your camera running, phone a friend if you need to. and say, if I am this way, do they see my shoulder or do they see my work? What happens if I switch to the other side? Right? That's really important because they need to see. Need to see. Your body positioning is critical, and I have some videos for you, and I can do a live demo for you in just a second. But that body position is very important. They have to see. They have to see if you're demoing. Absolutely. If you're showing a product in the camera, glare is always fun. Got to have that nice YouTuber hand behind. Or some people like to have a piece of paper behind. That works too. When you show and tell, bring what you would like to see closer. So that way people can accurately read, see what the packaging look like, and recognize it when they come to Salon Centric the next time. Very good. So framing and its importance. Why would you guys think that framing, and when I talk about framing, that means what the audience or learner can see. Why is framing so important in the virtual space? Anybody? Bueller? So they can hear, see. There's only so much room to look at to keep focus. Yes, because if you can't immediately see what someone's doing, the likelihood that you're going to check out and go to your mental Tahiti is quite high. So that framing is very important. Is the shot blurry or shaky? Is the camera stationary? That's a big one. The biggest tip I can give is what you're wanting displayed most visible in the foreground. Meaning, when you look at your screen, is what you want the learner to see the first thing your eye is drawn to. So you might have a whole room set up of this beautiful virtual space, and you have these amazing mannequins, which we love to see, and then you've got swatches over here, and then you've got a demo mannequin over here. Sometimes we can compete. Our eyes try to compete for focus. So making sure that those benchmarks are thoughtfully placed and making sure that what's in the lens of the camera is what you really want the learner to see first. Is the shot clean, organized, and free of debris? And finally, clean your camera lens before any class. You'll be surprised at how much better your camera quality gets. Promise you that. Here are some examples of framing and why it's important. That left side is a proper frame. When we teach on Zoom, I do prefer landscape, but this is also a good visual for social as well. When you're trying to show a technique on social, this also pertains. So on that left side, you can easily and clearly see what I'm doing. I had a camera right over my shoulder. I had my tripod set up right here, okay? Now, if I do this the hairdresser way, if I were behind the chair and just doing that same motion that I would, my shoulder's gonna get in the way, yeah? Cool. And Crystal, is there a way we can show the PowerPoint and have ourselves small in the corner? There is. There is a way. Yes, it's when you share. There's a couple of options when you share. You can either do side by side, you can do kind of like a green screen, you can do format on one side, you on the other. All good. So here is an example of videos. This first video, I have the camera in my hand moving and the subject is moving. Does that look very professional and polished if you were a learner? No. No. No, it's very distracting. This is what we would call also on social a first glance scroll away because it's too chaotic. Your eyes are, whoa, what's happening? Huh? Versus if we keep the camera stationary, we can move the subject, right? I can move that mannequin a little bit easier and the details are seen a little bit clearer, less glare, less shadow, more focus. How do we engage virtually? Direct them to the chat is a really great way. As you can see, I've done that several times so far today because that's how the easiest, lowest hanging fruit of engagement. Okay. You have to ask though. You can't just expect people to go into the chat. You have to keep going. How many of you have had a class where no one's engaging with you, no matter how hard you try? You're sitting there, you're asking questions, the chat is quiet, and you're like, yeah, I've been there before too. Worst feeling ever, crickets. And you're like, okay, that joke did not land. Good to know. Um, I can tell you I've been there for sure. For sure. Yes, I've been there with a silent chat. And here's the thing, I need you to keep asking, keep trying, keep reaching out your hand. Even if no one engages with you the entire program, more often than not, if you keep trying, two things are going to happen. One, your questioning skills and your engagement skills are going to get better because you're practicing them. And two, the likelihood that someone will start to engage is much, much higher. Much, much higher. Yes. And for every question they ask, they get to ask a question to figure out what's in the box. I love that. All right. So involve kinesthetic learners with simple activities. Kinesthetic learners are often the ones that are left out the most in virtual spaces. Because if I'm a visual learner, I at least have formats to see. I have a mannequin that you're demoing on. I have pictures I could take to refer back. If I'm an auditory learner, you can hear me talking, right? I'm the only person talking most of the time in a virtual space. But if you're a kinesthetic learner, you might get left behind. So trying to think of simple ways that you can engage a kinesthetic learner. I just had you draw the box, right? That allows you to see that. Entering into the chat is a kinesthetic action as well. Asking them to journal. If I'm doing a weave, a highlight and weave demo, can I have them mimic the different weaves with my hands? Absolutely. There are a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways that we can absolutely involve them. And sometimes it just takes, again, a little extra preparation to match an activity to the content of the program. And finally, ask them to take photos for them to remember. Instruct them to take photos, screenshots, and display on social. Again, people aren't going to put things of your class on social unless you ask for it. Ask for it. Say, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful you guys came, and I know your guests will be because you're upgrading your skill set. So please take pictures throughout this session, post them to your social media. Please tag me. Please tag me, right? That's a really great way to not only get them taking photos that they can refer back to, but getting on that social media as well, putting you out there as the facilitator and by nature, the Matrix brand out there. So that is great. I love that you guys are popping off in the chat with great ideas. See, this is what happens when everybody gets together, right? Good. I do a call to action before and after to anchor. Absolutely. Call to actions are critical. Love. So, what's the name of the game in terms of education? When you facilitate a program and why you decided to be an educator, what is really important to you when you teach? When you go to teach a class, what would you want the learner to leave with? What do you want that learner to take away from your classes? More confidence. Love that. Inspiration. I love that. New information, things that help with their career. Knowledge. I love that because I would wager a guess that most people come to classes to learn something. Yeah? And what good is a class if they don't retain the information? Less good. So this is Herman Ebbinghouse's The Forgetting Curve. If you have not heard of this before, it's something that I always keep in my back pocket to remind me about retention and the learner. And what that means is there's an initial steep decline in memory in the first 20 minutes to 24 hours after the class. So much so that adult learners can forget 50 to 70% within 24 hours. It's why you could take the same class 2 or 3 times and learn something new every time. If that learning isn't applied in the first week, retention drops to 10 to 20%. Andrea, mind blown. Yeah. Yeah. If they don't apply that learning, and this is when I believe it was Donna that said calls to action, right? Calls to action. This is where calls to action are so important because if they apply what they learned, they're more likely to retain it. So, what are some tools we have to anchor retention? And calls to action are really great ones. Asking to use the technique or what they learned and post about it on social media so you can see it. Anchoring our learnings is critical because we want these guests and we want these guests and learners to retain as much as possible. Super, super important, right? So, thus far, go into the chat and tell me what you've learned so far. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to use that chat as a diary. Use that chat feature as a diary and just tell me how you're feeling so far, what you've learned, what you're going to apply. Very good. And I will set up the next while you do that. Mm-hmm. Be big, less is more, which sounds like it contradicts itself, but it doesn't, I promise. Practice reading a kid's book. It actually really, really helped me a lot. That's why I talk about it often because it really helps me. Big energy, be bold, body placement, framing, energy, ways to incorporate different techniques that cater to different learning types. Yay. Less is more, keeping visuals in the box, being mindful of the angles in the camera. Love all of these. Keep engaged through the chat. Kids book for sure. Landscape for camera. Love that. Love, love, love. All right, so with your permission, can we pivot to Zoom room management and studio setups? Do we feel that we got what we needed in the last half hour about facilitation, all of that? Yes, Kayla, heck yes. Awesome. Okay. So let's pull this back up here if it wants to go. What does a good virtual studio look like? What do you think? You tell me. What does a good virtual studio look like? Think about it from a learner perspective, not a facilitator perspective. Think about it from a learner perspective. Carlos, clean eye, you know it. Clean background, clean space. Kayla, I love my studio, but it might be overwhelming. We love a self-aware queen. Yes, clean and organized. I'm seeing a lot of clean, not busy, uncluttered, good lighting, Amanda. I see that one. Absolutely. And I took a page from our own Matrix YouTube channel. Hi, Andrew, if you're watching this, or if you're here. I pulled this image from the YouTube channel, the Matrix YouTube channel, because I think it's a really great blueprint. Matrix products are displayed clean, organized, there's color, but the first thing you see is Andrew. The first thing you see is Andrew. And that's really, really helpful. Clean, non-busy backgrounds. Consider using a fabric backdrop if needed. So there's a couple of things here. I used to live in I know Tiffany said earlier she lives in a studio. I used to live in a very small apartment in LA. And I had a fabric backdrop that I hung from those plant hooks. You know, those little plant hooks? I screwed them into the wall and I just rolled up the fabric backdrop and had Velcro. And then I just let it down for all of my virtual classes. And that was really, really helpful. If you have an extra room that you can just dedicate to your studio, you can set up your backdrop however you please, as long as it's clean eye and Matrix approved, right? There's a well-lit area. Is what you are showing properly illuminated, visible, and true to tone? And this is where I'm going to say something, dare I say, controversial. I don't like a ring light. I'm going to be the first person to tell you that. I really don't enjoy them in virtual studio video spaces because of glare. The glare on ring lights, and even this light right here that I have is kind of ring light adjacent, and very glare because there's nothing to diffuse the light behind it. Not really. There's a little bit of plastic and that's it. So it gets very bright. And sometimes that glare on a foil or product is a little bit crazier. And Kayla says, box lighting. Absolutely. Box lights are my personal choice, or LEDs. LEDs or box lights are my two very favorites. And don't worry, I have a buyer's guide for you so you can pick out which light works best for you. Ensuring that your camera is set in landscape. That way everybody can see. And again, back to that mapping out what side you need your tray, tools, and mannequins on before you start. Set up your framing. What side can they see best from? That tells me where my trolley or station needs to be set up. Here are some examples of your community's virtual studios. On the two end caps, if you will, are Jen's. She does a lot of virtual facilitating, and you can see that she has a dedicated space, which is amazing. Not all of us have dedicated spaces, I know. But you can see her numerous screens, her laptop there, her backdrop is organized. Same with Stephanie. Stephanie, her Matrix products are out and about, but they're clean and organized, and I don't find them to be distracting. Both really great examples. Flip charting. How many of you flip chart more than format in your virtual classes? If you flip chart more than format in your virtual classes, say that's me. Ah, yes, I got one me. So don't know what I mean by that is, do you like to use more of a flip chart as your main focus and learning tool, or the format, the PowerPoint as your learning tool? I like digital whiteboards. Depends on the class. I do both. I use flip chart as supplement. I do both. Love that. One thing I want to call out is to ensure that your camera is not mirrored if you are going to be flip charting. So going into your settings and ensuring that your camera is not mirrored, because otherwise you get this. And you could be doing the best flip charting of your life, and people are like, I can't read backwards. So make sure that you are not mirrored. In addition, when we're flip charting in the virtual space, keep those flip charts very consolidated, very clean, big letters, simple. Because again, we don't want to overload, and vision and ability to see is not as great virtually as it is in person. Ensure while using, be mindful of your body. Are you blocking the view? Is your demo mannequin blocking the view? Sometimes that happens quite often. Be prepared to move the flip chart closer, farther, sideways. And always check in, can you see this okay? Multiple screens. Who here loves to virtually facilitate on more than one screen? I have heard that when a student is reading words, they are not able to listen very well. Depends on the person, but for someone like me, Tiffany, I have auditory processing is not my favorite thing. So oftentimes, I am that learner. So thank you for calling that out. So Tiffany says, I haven't tried. Awesome. So multiple screens. Everyone has a different setup of how they feel most comfortable. That's fine. Start playing around and seeing, okay, if I'm going to have two screens, is my phone, what is my phone going to manage versus what is my laptop going to manage versus what is my tablet going to manage? I used to work with three screens virtually. For me, it was too overwhelming. But I know so many people that have great success with it. Kayla, I have three. I do best with two screens. I can easily have my format available. I can have my chat open, and I can feel a little bit more engaged and less stressed. Personal preference. Formats. I love a good format. Love a good PowerPoint. How many of you are favoring formats in your virtual classes? Teresa, Tiffany, Christy, Crystal. Love that. Here's a couple tips, and these tips apply to in-person learning as well. The first question is, are you presenting from desktop? And if you are not, I highly recommend and suggest and ask that you do. So where you'll find that, if you PowerPoint automatically populates on your web browser, some people do, some people's computers do. Go to the editing on the top right corner of your PowerPoint, and you'll see open in desktop. And presenting from your desktop is going to be ideal because sometimes when you share from a web browser, the formatting in the PowerPoint gets all crazy. The text isn't right, the font is wrong, it's in the wrong places. So going from desktop is best practice. The second question is, do you have Mont and Mont heavy fonts installed? Those are living in the Matrix 2025 digital library, in the PPD library. Okay, and some of you, I get it. You might be rolling your eyes at me and saying, Katie, I don't care about the font. I don't care. Let me tell you, the font matters. And I'm going to show you why. This is what one of our slides looks like, formatted correctly. This is how it looks. This is how it's supposed to look. If you display from your browser and you don't have the fonts installed, this is what it looks like. Can you see the difference? One, in my opinion, looks professional. This one looks like I might have put it together in my back room really fast and wasn't prepared, right? And we want to make sure that not only are we putting ourselves in the best light, we're putting the brand in the best light. Love it. I am trying to have them download, but I haven't had success. I would go and try the ones in the folder, see if they work. If not, we can offline it and see if we can get it working for you. Okay. Questions on... So to confirm, yes, we use Mont. We use Mont and Mont Heavy. If you are going to bold, if something is bold, it's not Mont and in bold, it is Mont Heavy. I so wish Apple and Microsoft could play well together. You and me too. Me too, sister. Me too. Mont and Mont Heavy. They're both in the digital folder in the PPD library. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Are we good? Awesome. My eyes are on the chat, so I'll catch it if I didn't. Now, this is how we navigate Zoom, right? This is what it looks like after starting a meeting. Looks something like this, right? Is this what your screen kind of looks like right now, sans my image? So should we have the presentation up on desktop, then a second screen with us facilitating? Says Teresa. So for example, right now, I have my chat open on a tripod on my phone next to me right here, staring at it. My camera is what you're seeing with me, and I'm running my format PowerPoint from here. So that way my eyes are up front at all times. That's what works best for me. Okay. So we're going to do a quick walkthrough of everything that you can see at that bottom ribbon. And feel free to poke around and look. All I ask is that you don't take yourself off mute because otherwise we'll have mass chaos. But feel free to poke around a bit as we go through these pieces on the ribbon. And the ribbon I'm referring to is that big black bar on the bottom or top of your screen. You can tap the microphone to mute when you see that audio icon on the bottom left. You can tap the caret for audio options. And one thing I personally like to do before I start any class is test the speaker and microphone. Catch some problems before they start, before you're left off your access. If you are using two devices, make sure one of them is muted with the volume off. Me and Karina, I'm teaching this class and I was having the hardest time with feedback when I was setting this up with Karina earlier. So I'm telling you, preparation, even for experienced hands, is so, so, so important. For the video on that little bottom ribbon, that little camcorder, Tap the camera to stop the video. Toggle your backgrounds on and off, and you can also poke around in video settings here. Excuse me. Can blur your background. However, I really, really ask that you do not have a blurred background or a green screen background when you facilitate. The reason I say that is, it's because it's very unreliable and unpredictable. Sometimes you can see, sometimes you can't. I would avoid it altogether. Then we have participants and chat. You have been using the chat a lot, right? That's very helpful. I love to have my screen up, participants, and then that chat feature if I'm doing this from one screen, and you can poke around there as well. Say you're co-hosting. You have a friend that is facilitating with you. If you're the host, you can make someone else a host, and you can also make them a co-host. So what you have to do is tap the 3 dots to the right of the attendee's name. Are you co-facilitating? If they are, you can make them a co-host, or maybe you have to bow out early and you want to make them the host instead. You can do that as well. If you go on a break or for whatever reason you want to put the attendees back in the waiting room, you can do that. You see right there at that very bottom, it says put in waiting room, and that's an option for you. Karina, great call out. Make your added device a co-host as well. Critical, critical, critical. Because otherwise you might go to share on one screen and you can't, and then we get flustered. So great catch. Then we have reactions, which we have not yet used. So go down into that bottom ribbon, tap the little heart that says react, and give me a reaction. There's a clap hands, a thumbs up, a heart, laugh, there's more. Tell me what you're feeling right now. Tap that react button and send a reaction into the chat. This is a place where you can raise your hand as well. That shows us, the facilitator, that you have a question. Love. Is everybody finding the react feature? Whoa. Great, great, great. Some people love to use the raise hand feature and drive people to that react to raise the hand if they have a question they want to say out loud. Some of us prefer verbally to do that, whatever's most comfortable to you. And record lives here. I used that earlier to make sure that our friends that are watching this from the comfort of their couch later can watch it. On the top right-hand corner, this is where you can poke around right now if you'd like. You'll see something that says view. It should be in the top right-hand corner. Speaker. Speaker view is where the speaker is big and everyone else is small. Gallery view is going to fit as many people as can be seen at once. And multi-speaker, if there's more than one person talking, you can see them both. Those are some different views, and every learner has a different style. You might want to be in speaker view instead of gallery view. Completely up to you. What's the difference between spotlight and pin? This is a question I see often. Spotlighting is something you can do as a host. This spotlights the selected speaker for everyone. If you are the host and you want someone's video to be seen by everyone at the same time, spotlighting is what you want to do. You can spotlight up to 9 people at a time. A pin spotlights someone in your view only. So if you pin someone, if you're the host and you want to pin, maybe it's your format screen, that's only pinning it for you, not for everybody else. But it's, again, a nice learner tool you can point out. So if people really like to stay focused, they don't want to see the format at all. Maybe they just want to see you because that's how they learn best. They can set that pin up for themselves. Ta-da! Then, what is a breakout room? A breakout room in Zoom is a separate, smaller virtual classroom. Has anybody been in a breakout room before or done a training where there was a breakout room? Donna, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Lovely. So this will help you create those breakout rooms. It's only available to the host. You can create a couple breakout rooms, and breakout rooms isn't something that I love to use liberally all the time. If you are going to do a breakout room, I want you to tell me why. And that why would be, what are you assigning that class to do in that breakout room? Make sure the directions are very clear and that it has a focus. Has a focus. Can't see the PowerPoint that well. It's too small. Is anybody else seeing this way smaller? I can also make it bigger too, if that's better for everybody. Dun, dun, dun. Here. If that's the case, let's do this. 1 second. Is that better? Big screen instead of side by side. Perfect. Lovely. Thank you for that. Thank you, thank you. And just some quick hot tips. Walk attendees through that bottom ribbon. That's really, really helpful. There are many people that just are not as familiar or comfortable in the Zoom space. And one of the reasons you might not be getting engagement is because they don't know where to go. And they're too afraid to ask. So walking them through, kind of like how you take someone through your home for the first time, showing them where the bathroom is, all of that good stuff. This is how we share content. So tap share. There's a lot of options here. You can share the entire screen, your application windows, just the content itself, and you can just share sound or share sound that's embedded in the format as well. So what I was doing earlier that I learning for me, is that my font is too small to be seen side by side. And I had it set up, if you can see, side by side on the right-hand side where it says presenter layout, you'll see my format preview and then a couple of squares. I had it on side by side. Okay. So people can see face and PowerPoint. There's a couple different ways you can share. Now remember, if you're sharing a PowerPoint that has sound embedded, you want to make sure to click that little number 4, share sound box. Because otherwise videos will be playing and no one will hear them. One thing we love at Matrix is a good jam. Who doesn't love a good jam sesh? I know I do. And that's why sharing computer audio is really, really important. So when you are welcoming people in and you want to play some jams to get everybody pumped up, you will go to advanced, that number 1, tap advanced, then computer audio, share sound. This will play the music that is on your laptop. So anything that is playing on your laptop will play for the learner. Keep that in mind. Because if you have something else that turns on up and running, they're going to hear it. Some good hot tips. Practice sharing beforehand. I cannot stress to you how important that is. And in fact, that is going to be your call to action. And we'll talk about that before we wrap up. But practice sharing beforehand. So important. Log in with another device or a friend so you guys can work together and see what you can see. And again, check to make sure that your format is being presented in desktop mode with Mont and Mont heavy fonts installed. And here are some quick day of class checks that you want to do. Your Wi-Fi. Check your Wi-Fi. Check your network connection, full bars or bust. Okay. Use a Wi-Fi extender if needed. I had to purchase an extender for my office because it's too far away from my router. Okay. That helps my Wi-Fi connection carry over and be stable. If your Wi-Fi is spotty, if you prepare ahead of time, you'll be able to unplug your router and your modem for 10 seconds and try it again. Give yourself a ton of time to prepare. Crystal said, this is what I needed to learn. Tiffany, I need to practice my transitions from sharing screen and not. Great. Kayla says, practice makes perfect. Yes, it does. Here are some things you might want to check on the Zoom platform. Check your sign-in. Do you remember your credentials? Zoom often asks for two-factor authentication. So what that means is it'll send you, you'll log in, put your password in, and then it'll say, oh, we sent something to your email to verify that it's you. They often do that. So make sure you budget for that time. Turn off virtual backgrounds, as I shared earlier. Taking a peek and investigating your camera angle. Is it on a sturdy surface or is it all going to come falling over? I say this because I have done it many, many times. Okay. Consider using 2 devices or more. All right. So go into that chat feature and tell me your biggest aha. The thing that's kind of stuck in that frontal cortex of your brain. The thing that you're like, oh, wow, that actually helped to see. Or I'm going to implement this. Or this will change how I do X. Kayla says the sharing. It's a stressful one. Does anybody else feel stressed when they have to share something or several things? Who like, oh, multi-devices. Donna says she's going to check her font. Great. 2 screens, breakout rooms. Practice sharing the screen with someone else. How to share the PowerPoint with me in the frame. I told you I had that answer for you, Crystal. I told you. Dual screens. Yes, so that was a big aha for a lot of people. Love and Mont. Does anyone have anything that they didn't have answered? Any questions that they didn't have answered? Because even if I don't have the answers, I will commit to finding them. Practice the music. We tried and only worked 50% of the time. There's a couple different, audio sharing can get kind of funky. I would highly recommend if you're sharing sound from Spotify to do it on computer audio that I showed you that advanced tab. It's way more predictable. It usually works a little bit better. Love. So I'm going to flash this next bit on the screen. I was working really hard to do this in an hour for you all because I know your time is incredibly valuable and I don't want to take too much of it. But you can pick through this at your own leisure. I'm going to put this up in the folder of the digital 2025 folder. But I did put together a buyer's guide for you that is hyperlinked that will take you where you need to go. So what that looks like is I put it into different categories. We put it into save, spend, splurge. So if you're on a budget, we have a save option. If you are kind of like, all right, middle of the road spend, great. If you're like, I am a bougie baby, give me the splurge. It's all there. So there's tripods. For someone like myself who hasn't done a virtual class, have like a practice class, that's next. Promise is ahead of the game. And here are some backdrop frames. If you want to have a fabric backdrop that lives, you can either take down or keep up. These are some really great options. I also really love when I was in my tiny LA apartment, using those plant hooks worked really well. So sue me. Girls got to do what a girl's got to do. Here are just some examples of backdrops, ivory, brick, good stuff. Here are some lights. The save ones are portable, dimmable LEDs. I love these. I have these. I love them. They're some of my very favorites. Sometimes they can be a little bit glary. They're on the cheaper side, so keep that in mind, but they're really great for travel too. The spend is those beautiful soft boxes. I'm a softbox girl. The problem is they are very large. So in someone like Tiffany's case, who said she lives in a studio apartment, that's tough. My favorite is these LED adjustables, the splurge, if you will. I love them. They're so easy to use. They come with a remote. They have different filters, so you can really dial in the lighting. Different options for trays. I personally use the storage cart in my studio downstairs. This is another thing that you might not have thought of is a drop cloth. You want to protect your floors, one, but it also dampens the sound of footsteps. And I would highly suggest not using plastic because plastic you can hear. Every time you move your feet, you can hear that plastic crinkling around. So that is my canvas drop cloth. I also use it when I'm doing arts and crafts with my kid. Multifunctional. And here are just some resources that I personally have found helpful in my journey. These are just some YouTube videos that give you examples of great minute lighting tips, beginner lighting tips, studio setups, more Zoom hot tips. They're all in these YouTube videos, which are great resources. Great, great, great. And again, that virtual handbook, that digital mastery handbook is going to live in the digital 2025 folder. So you can refer to it at any time, whenever you'd like. You want to pick through the buyer's guide, be my guest. But that leaves me with our call to action for the day, which is your homework. Your homework is to get with a friend or two or three and practice this. Practice this, because does retention stay the same or does it drop after the first day or so of learning something? Drops fast, really fast. So making sure if you can get within this week, if you can apply what you learned today within this week, you'll be able to, the likelihood of retention is much higher. So I suggest this week, getting with your friend or two or three, have dinner together virtually while you practice sharing the screen, sharing your audio. Can you see? Can you see this? What if I move this here? Is this better? Our community is fantastic. It's amazing. And you all have been so helpful and kind, I know, to me. And I know that you are kind to each other. So get with your besties for the resties and practice. Do I have your commitment to practice? Yay! Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. If you're someone that you only teach virtually a couple times here and there, that gets very, very overwhelming. Very overwhelming. Oh, I love that. As always, I am here to be a resource for you. Karina is here to be a resource for you. All we want is for you all to be successful and feel confident. I want to make sure that you all have the tools that you need to feel set up for success and have a great program. Share what you're great at. Sound good? Thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate it. It is not lost on me that you spent your time with us today. And if you need anything, you have questions, please reach out to us. And we love to see you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Yay!